Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for March 3rd. March 3rd is the 62nd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 63rd in leap years, with 303 days remaining to the end of the year. Yesterday's word was Yahoo, which originated from Jonathan Swift's book Gulliver's Travels. Today we have another word from Gulliver's Travels, but this one hasn't come into quite such as wide a usage as Yahoo has. Today's word is struldbrug. Struldbrug. That's a mouthful of word, isn't it? Struldbrug is a noun that means someone very old and decrepit. This comes to us, as I mentioned, from Jonathan Swift's book Gulliver's Travels, where struldbrug were a people from the land of Lugnag. Struldbrug grew old and decrepit, but they did not die. They didn't die, and they continued to age. At the age of 80, struldbrugs would be declared legally dead and would continue to live on a small pension from the state. Struldbrug. And with that, progressing into the 1800s, contention over the issue of slavery had come to be quite a thing. Many felt, and I believe rightly so, that slave labor was not a good thing and wished to see it done away with. If you need work done, for example, find someone who can or will do the job and pay them for their work. But those who had come to depend on slave labor were loath to give it up. Since both sides felt very strongly about it, the issues around slavery became a focal point, a hot-button issue for argument and contention. With this background, the Missouri Territory had applied for statehood. One of the northern representatives submitted some amendments to that request with an eye to restricting slavery in that soon-to-be new state. Southern representatives believed slavery was a state issue, and the Senate was split right down the middle. If Missouri were allowed to be admitted as a slave state, it would give the South an advantage in the slavery question. Along about that time, Maine also petitioned for statehood as what was called a free soil state, and the two bills were quickly linked, with Maine's admission as a free soil state a condition for Missouri entering the Union as a slave state. Matters only became more complex from there. What they finally came upon was the Missouri Compromise. Slavery would be permitted in Missouri and in the Arkansas Territory, but prohibited in the unorganized territory of the Great Plains, which were nearly as big in square mile size as the then existing United States. The Missouri Compromise was passed on March 3rd, 1820. This is the birthday of baseball great John Montgomery Ward, born March 3rd, 1860. When I saw that name, I thought of the former department store, now online ordering store, Montgomery Ward. And while this Mr. Ward did try his hand as a traveling salesman, that didn't work out for him, and he went back home, rediscovered baseball. He played for several teams and then managed for actually the same teams that he'd played for. He pitched the second perfect game in baseball history. A perfect game is, as I like to say it, 3 up, 3 down, 9 times in a row. Pretty remarkable feat. The first perfect game was pitched in 1880, and in the following 132 years through the 2012 season, only 23 perfect games have been pitched. John Montgomery Ward lived to the age of 65 and was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1964 by the Veterans Committee. Oil was discovered in Saudi Arabia on March 3, 1938. NASA launched Apollo 9 to test the lunar module on March 3, 1969. Today's song is Duke of Earl by Gene Chandler. We find it today as it begins its third of 3 weeks in the number 1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 on March 3, 1962. The inspiration for this song began with a series of vocal warm-up exercises in which they'd sing the syllables do, do, do. One day, Gene added the name of his friend Earl to that phrase, do, 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 Duke of Earl. And they began writing a song around that phrase. With some help from songwriter and mentor Bernice Williams, they ended up with an actual song. Gene was actually in a group called the Duquesnes under his original name of Eugene Dixon. The Duquesnes record label wanted to publish a different song with the Duquesnes, but offered Eugene the opportunity to record Duke of Earl as a solo artist, which he did under the assumed name of Gene Chandler, borrowing the last name of the popular 1950s actor Jeff Chandler. In addition to its time on the charts, Duke of Earl, being a pretty catchy tune, has been covered, adapted, sampled, and used in product commercial jingles. Duke of Earl by Gene Chandler, number 1, March 3rd, 1962. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include the link to my blog page that is called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Do not disturb.
Okay, I turned Do Not Disturb on.
Good job. Third time better be a charm. January 2nd. The 16th. It's all written in Roman numerals, so I had to translate it. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty. Back to work. I think we got it this time.